Kultur digital. Erfahre alles über Digital Humanities im Gespräch mit internationalen Fachleuten. Eine Produktion von Virtual Culture.
We are right now here at the DHCH yearly meeting at the Istituto Svizzero, and this year's topic is data science. So how does data science actually, how has it something to do with the research you are doing? Can you tell us a little bit about the research topics and how you work in the digital domain?
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here in a surrounding that is very nice, but also together with other people working in this same domain, and this exchange is extremely precious. We are working on figurines. This means these are clay figurines from the first millennium BC that were found in excavation in Jordan, and we have their database with about 500 items, and now there are many questions about these data, how to use them, how to make them available for others. This means online, but also in exhibitions in Jordan or elsewhere, and how to combine especially also these data that are no more at the same place, because these excavations has been done by international teams, and there were then some of the finds till the 80s, the 1980s. Some of the finds were given to the excavators. So these shared finds, they are now in Sydney or in the States or somewhere else in Europe, and in Jordan are 2/3 of these figurines. And now to collect them by a good photography, that give us all the possibility to develop it online, to be in contact with researchers worldwide, to discuss also that what we find, that what we see, that what we see not, we don't see because it is worn. These figurines very often have a worn surface and are broken also. 96% are fragments, and there are a lot of data to cope with and also to develop so that they are also still available in 10 years, in 20 years we hope. And in which format, this has all to be discussed with specialists.
Yes.
And there I'm happy to be in contact with people who are more specialized in this world, in this technical world. I'm coming from history and from history of religion, history of art, anthropology, and I appreciate this background, but I need also the contact with people like you here who are especially also well equipped and well informed about what you can do nowadays with these data collected in excavation.
So you come very much from an application. So you would like to do research with those figurines. You have specific questions you would like to ask to such a corpus. But actually this needs quite a number of different technologies to do this in the environment of computers and the internet. So would you say is it already possible to do something meaningful in the digital domain, or is just the technology not yet ready to actually really be being used as a research supporting infrastructure, let's say?
I think what has to be developed is this, that you can share that what you found in a good way, that everybody online can see and work with the material. This is not yet done, because there are platforms also in Strasbourg universities. There are platforms under development, and but it's not yet there that you can really share what you did. And this is important because nowadays I think nobody works alone. Everybody has to be in contact with other disciplines, with researchers who are just specialized in neighbor disciplines, and that's why it has to be shared, and this is not yet done.
Yes.
No.
And sharing means both directions, so that also participation is important. That means that everybody which is in such a community can actually really work, also add content to such data.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Until now, it's just there are these very good photography, the RTI pictures, but you cannot really not yet share them so that they are really that people who see them online can comment, can download, can just make small parts. It is a very good photography that we used, but it has to be developed for the net.
Yes.
It's not yet done really. We are thinking and working on it, but it's on its way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Andrei, you are actually the, like, let's say, a person which is developing technology, and so can you say something about what are things which you are interested in if you have such a corpus of, for example, photographs or 3D objects, and how do you work with that data so that you really get new research outcome?
First of all, thank you very much for being here and inviting me for the interview. What we have to develop starting from the figurines, first of all, it's to see more complexity out of them, related with the social complexity in the past. But we have, in fact, to data collection problem, data analysis and structuring of the information. This is data science application very well with the figurine. Collecting the figurines, that you have very much pieces of them, heads, but then how to structure this information in a way that you can then arrive at the idea how they were done and how they were looking in the past. It means that how then can we analyze having a 3D model or a 3D point schema or a mesh of a figurine and then arrive using a 3D texture to reconstruct a possible complete shape of a figurine based on different small pieces by a typology or a semiotic resemblance between figurines to arrive by machine learning and by a 3D texture composition to a complete shape of a figurine.
Yes.
This is one application, and another one it's related with context of the figurines, not only how they were iconically was looking at them, but context. It means that large databases of objects, figurines, objects that were related with the figurines found in an archaeological context, found in that society, and find patterns by using data analysis that connect this information between them. And then we can find correlations between historical data, texts, archaeological data like figurines.
Yeah.
And we come up with a much more complex society of the past.
Yes. So, Régine, what would you say for your research questions? How much standardized tools can be used, or I mean, are in archaeology and maybe in arts techniques and methodologies so well developed that they can be shared between those disciplines? Or does it mean if you would like to do research with the figurines that actually everything which is analysis needs to be developed from the scratch?
Yeah, I'm in contact with many people working on figurines, and this is mainly in the Greco-Roman world because they have much more material than we have, and they are quite advanced. What I do not really find till now is connections between different features on figurines, that you can identify moldings. Everybody speaks of these famous moldings because they give us information about the diffusion of figurines from one city to the other and from one area also to the other. And they, what I read is that people say, yes, they look like they are from the same mold. I think that, or I see that, but we need there, in fact, a tool to measure that more objectively, that it's not the researcher who says, I think that. It's nice because our eyes are precious and what we see and our knowledge and all is nice, but we need more objectivity if possible. And I think this can be reached by technique that measures, that develops a model, a 3D model of that, so that you see the distance between the eyes, the distance between the forehead and the nose or the mouth, and between the cheeks. This has all to be measured and modeled in a way so that you can say this figurine is the same type. So when we find it far from each other, means the southern Levants, these are not many thousands kilometers, but it is interesting if in the north and in the south they use the same mold. Question, how came this mold from there to here and from here to there, and who used it and why? And is it also the first generation of these molds, or is it a second generation? Because when the mold, we do not know in fact what is the lifetime of such a mold. They were made of clay also. And when did it break? And they had to make a new mold. And they took one of the last figurines, they fabricate it, and they make a new mold, they fire it. So the reduction is at least 10% of the new figurine that you take out of it. And so also this all are data that you have to cope with. Even when they are not in the millions of data, we are still low level with these figurines. This is the problem, in fact, also. But to do the maximum out of it, I think there are many questions of these kinds.
Yeah. Just to add an idea, I don't want to lose it, related to yesterday with twins or to replica.
Yes.
That is really interesting. That it's not something new that we copy materials from one platform to another.
Yeah.
For example, when we had molds, I discovered that it was a mold done from a bronze figurine.
Yes.
But much more luxury, much more other level of society. But then a mold took the shape and then reproduced it in masses in a clay.
Yes.
Means that we also have to think not only on the same materials, technology. That in a society there are different materials for different people, for different uses, and which raises more questions, in fact.
Yeah.
We don't have to look only at a specific material, we have to find the flow of ideas that is linked with a specific material.
Yeah. So from your application, this sounds like something which is nearly impossible to be developed in a small research team, let's say of a couple of people. So you need somehow partners which are bigger, I assume, which understand what your research questions are, and which support you in the process which you would like to follow. How easy is this? I mean, you mentioned that at the University of Strasbourg you also have like a technology service department. On many universities they are existing, but how easy is it to actually get really support, not only in data storage, but really in the development of technological components?
Unfortunately, as so often, it's a question of money.
Yes.
And so even when the goodwill is there and the contacts are there and the interest is there in this kind of material, together with other research who are working, for example, in Strasbourg, in Egypt, and they also have figurines, it would be possible to make a larger network, because the Levant is just the north of Egypt, and there could be some connections in the same period, Iron Age, first millennium BC. But it is a question of money, because it needs somebody who is just busy with that. And they have, for example, in my university, they have so many departments to serve and to make programs for them, that it is then just not possible that one person only works for these figurines. And that's why it is then a danger that it is that they work with a certain delay, and it's just not realized now at the moment. We are in contact, and it's a good contact, but till now we need, in fact, a person that gets for a year or two just a funding, who can work only on that.
Yes.
A year would probably be even enough. I don't know, but a year it needs.
Yes.
And full time.
Yeah.
And then you have programs, and you can continue, and you can develop it then probably on another level. If not, you stay with just looking at it and saying, I think, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's not sufficient.
So Andrei, you are doing a lot of development work in the field of computer science. So how easy is it to find other people which actually do more or less do the same or follow the same approach as you do to exchange, let's say, technological components to do the data science you need?
I think it's a good time now to collaboration. For example, I have supervision from KAUST in Saudi Arabia of computational mathematics, that I learn a lot how to come up with much more efficient data sets for training machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
And also when I see here 3D textures, like the experience of Marianne,
Mm-hmm.
that this now at least 3 people that can share their experience together
Yes.
to come up with real problems. How then to balance either lack of data in data science for a specific corpus or language like Aramaic. When you want to train a machine learning for Aramaic, you have a low corpuses of information.
Yeah.
Either you synthetically produce, or either you come up with a solution for lack of data, or either you have Greek language and you have abundance of data and you have to come up with a solution of quick digestion of large corpuses of data, inefficient.
Yes.
And then we have to collaborate with people that they deal with these problems,
Yeah.
in different fields.
Yeah.
And this for me, it's amazing how we can then share, connect the needs of everyone and come up with a solution in different environment.
Yes.
Either humanities or either physics, chemistry, 3D modeling.
Yeah.
For me, it's a good connection.
Okay.
I think the main thing is then also the interpretation. You can collect data, you can make synthetic data, because you have
Yes.
not enough of data in language, in Aramaic or in the figurines. And then how to evaluate now this and interpret. And there I think then is interdisciplinary, is there's not a secret, it's just the magic word that you can then join the knowledge, because those who are working with the patterns, they do not 100% know what it means. This means the patterns in a language, in an ancient language. And then when you can come in and try to help on this level, this means that this is a word we know from elsewhere, this is a proper name that you have also in other areas, then it is fruitful.
Yes, but now I think it's much more balanced as in the past.
Yeah.
It's not that the technician does only a technical problem or the researcher knows how to interpret the data.
Yeah.
In fact, now I think the engineers they can propose in which the researcher has to also to look for, because
Yes.
it shows to the technology how the material was circulating in a way that the researcher couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, look at these economical problems that they were sharing then some networks. Look at this shape. Look at this object that you couldn't realize and come up with a new interpretation.
He's very much an advocate of not, when we have the term digital humanities, I have the tendency to say here is digital, here is humanities.
Yes.
And you need knowledge here in humanities that you have from the scratch. You learned as an archaeologist, as an epigrapher, as a historian of art. You have their knowledge that is just acquired during studies, during theses, during lifetime. And here you have the digital people, and they are technicians, and here
Yes.
we are not d'accord. Here he says, no, this is not the correct model.
Yes.
Because I am a concept data-driven.
Yes.
Every technology or even data-driven interpretation. It's not that we do the interpretation or interpretation in my head, that we have to let ourselves driven by the data somehow. We collect it, we come up with a framework of structuring the data, either semiotics or in humanities, that it's really humanities come with a framework, in fact, of structuring the data, because technology then, it will serve the purpose of those who are building it. And if you come up with a building for the humanities and a framework of humanities, you will have a technology suit this purpose. And then you have to let yourself driven by this technology somehow in interpretation. And I think the storyline is built by the researcher or by the humans, but linking these many points that just pop up by the shown by the technology. Technology can interpret, can build a storyline, but also the storyline built by the historians, it's driven also by the complexity shown through the technology.
Yes, yes. I think both are right, because I believe, I mean, that's the main aim of digital humanities as a research field. We try to educate people so that they can actually be the bridging element. And in your case, if you work closely together, you already did this bridge, and you communicate with each other, and you try to understand each other and explain each other the approaches you are following or the problems you would like to have solved. And I think that's you are really far already in this process of interdisciplinarity in digital humanities, and I believe that's a big advantage for research. But actually another thing, you are also taking into account machine learning. That's something which you said, Andrei. And another thing, Régine, which you said, is that you would like to have a more objective result from this data. But now I have the question, as far as I understand, machine learning still is kind of a black box, and you get results which you do not really know why they are as they are, and why they come out of such an algorithm or a deep learning component. So how do you handle that? Does it not mean that it still needs human interpretation, but just on the next level, and makes this the problem smaller or even bigger?
I experienced it now also because I'm also working in language, and this means Hebrew language, for example. This is just a text, and then there created semantic network between these terms, how they are arranged in a text.
Yes.
Fantastic, wonderful, but you have to write there an algorithm to give the orders to this system, to this machine, to work as you want it to work. And when this is not mastered, this link, and I cannot master it because I cannot make algorithms myself, I'm there dependent on somebody who knows how to do it, and I can then say what I want to find out. And there it's really, it's a problem, the interpretation, because it's like aleatory, and you need then to give the criteria, you as a researcher, and then to manipulate this machine in a way to come to a certain result. But yeah, this I do not understand yet. No. And the same is true for just then letters in inscriptions and also figurines. That what are the criteria you establish so that the machine knows how to work? I say it in my language, and then when you see then the results there in list estimations or in a nice graph, what does that mean? And where is now this research question that I had at the beginning? Is this really that what is then now here appearing? There I'm on my way and very eager to learn more.
Yes, yes.
Me too. The fact is with machine learning that they have to enter in the iteration loops also with humans. Humans are not excluded, for example, in the way of evaluating some results. The obvious results, for example, transliterating the language, in the obvious results everything is d'accord, but when you have some hard letters to decipher, I think then is the role of a researcher in cutting edge problems. I think the machine learning comes up more and more taking some repetitive tasks, come up with proposition for the fine tuning, and then researcher can concentrate in this area where we have a debate, and it's not we can't find a solution.
Yes.
And then each time when machine learning is trained, is retrained, then humans can emphasize the specific edges that the machine can understand.
Yeah.
I think this much more. I think machine learning will push the humans to be much more creative, much more curious. In fact.
Yeah.
It's hard, in fact, even if it sounds nice, but becoming harder.
Yes,
You are
yes.
pushed to be much more creative, much more founding solutions and concentrating on this. And
Yeah.
The repetitive stuff is taken away.
Yeah.
How we solve this problem, that it gives free or takes some labor of the work, we don't know. But the problem is that we have to be creative
Yes. Yes.
in the future.
Yes.
It's also very systematic in our approach, because the machine, I think, works in a systematic way. Yeah?
Yes.
And when we come with some flu questions, this will not be
Yes.
understood.
Yeah.
And I think it's all about methodology.
Yes.
How now to cope with what you create by, you make synthetic data, you let them work in the machine, you create then systems that are wonderful and precious, because it is saving time. But then how now to make the transition between historical facts and that what are iconographical facts and facts of just paleography, for example, and facts of anthropology in general, psychology. There are lots of facts, in fact, around in a certain area, a geographical area, with certain data that are given in the shape of objects, and can be inscription, can be texts, can be then also these kind of figurines. And now how to combine all that? This is not clear, not at all. This has to be defined.
Yeah.
It will never be somehow, because machines can build connections between knowledge or precision measurements. That's it. Who connects the dots? It will be also some humans, and also we debate between them. You will have fields like archaeology, with all the technology that we have. Still, there is a debate in analyzing a specific artifact.
Yes.
So in each time it is dating, technology of dating an artifact. Someone says it's 9th century, or it's plus minus. Technology is also not 100% objective, it's subjective somehow.
Unfortunately, it's this famous C14
Yes.
discussion.
Yes.
That's unfortunately, and I'm always, I cannot understand
Yes.
what it really is. The same site, the same artifacts, samples sent in to do C14 analysis,
Yes.
and the researcher, the excavator, then says, I'm clearly here in the 10th century, and the other says, I'm in the 9th century, and it's the same material.
Yes.
And
yes.
obviously also there is it's a going from too.
Yeah.
And how to interpret this is not even there.
That's why I think we have to find out a framework, methodology that we have to be driven by.
Yes.
Because as human we have subjective, we tend to take a specific interpretation that suits our social field or environment, and
Yes.
others take other interpretation that it's much more close to their ideology, maybe. I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
And if we have to be somehow driven by the same shared standardization, come up with the shared knowledge.
We try, and you can, the human eye or the human knowledge or understanding or experience can give good results then when you check the material, or it can go too much into fantasy. We
Yes.
are also there not safe.
Yes.
And this is then the problem when two people interpret the same material. Even with the help of technology, they have then some historical data that they integrate, and at the end, Mr. M says this, and Mr. G says this, and you are there again in between, and you think we need some objectivity. Let's say this will never exist because we are all subjective, but as much as possible, and
Yes.
this is my expectation, what I have in this field.
Yeah.
But probably it's sufficient for technology or data science to propose information
Yes.
and to let it to be discussed
Yeah.
as broad as possible, not to be under 2-3 people that have the access to this knowledge as much as people can have access to this
Yes.
connection between knowledge. Then the discussion can
Yes.
be transparent.
Maybe the discussion can be even be done with the machine.
Correct.
I mean, we have seen in the presentations that large solutions, also commercial solutions like in Photoshop, or even such a tool which we have seen on, I think it was on Monday, where you can do a data analysis with actually a chat communication with the machine. So you can really try to get into a dialogue with the algorithm to work with that. And I also believe strongly that we have to cope with this technology, because it will be there. So we cannot it's something which will happen. It already happens, and it will get very strong.
When you have now, even in statistics, it was too much chart analysis, I think. But now it goes much more in prompting.
Yes.
Asking to give a specific information already structured by the machine. We see some charts.
Yes.
And analyzed by colors, by so prompting.
Yes.
And even now there is a technology in deploying an environment by prompting.
Yes.
Build me a city with a street and a site in Petra, with the background in Petra.
Yes.
And the algorithm builds the environment.
It's
amazing. Generative presentations. Generative environment.
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. That will be really a strong future. So we are going to do another, of course, meeting in the next year. And I wonder what are topics you would be very much interested to hear in such a, let's say, a workshop of PhD students and professors. We had the topic of images and metadata. We had the topic of methodologies. Now we have the topic of data sciences. Is it just straightforward that it must be artificial intelligence? Or is there something else which we probably or maybe forget on this way?
You know more than I feel just that certain people are afraid. Now it's after the first boom of wonderful what we have here now. It is now everywhere. I feel it's that there are dangers now around, and certain people say, in fact, we should renounce to that. Just an example, at our university in Strasbourg, it came now up that in fact when you give something to an exam, in exams, that people who can just, even at home or during the exam, they can let it write by artificial intelligence. And how to control that, because it's such a vast net where they take the information, and even the information is modified, created and made up in a way that you cannot say this is now taken from Wikipedia. This is no more possible. This was now, and how to cope with that? People are completely afraid and think we should go back to the pencil and the paper. So cannot be the solution. Sure not.
Going back, it's impossible. It's at least it's not the best solution. To go back into old thinking. Probably we have to come up with questions. Better questions. Either from professors that to come up with a question that it's an age question. It can't be only by your personal inquiry of a data you can come up. And if the student wants to be framed a template by ChatGPT, because it's only common knowledge offers ChatGPT. It doesn't come up with futures that are very age knowledge. And not come. Now I heard last night that ChatGPT is closed for accessing in Italy.
Okay, interesting.
They just it's blocked.
Okay.
You can't access the site because they are afraid that students use it.
Sure. And there will be ways to go around this
VPN
blockage,
technology will easily. It's easily.
It's not a solution.
It is not a solution. I think that's why we don't have to concentrate in models. Artificial models or network models. We have to concentrate in data, in information, how we come up with creative data that suits a specific formation as technologists, as researchers. How we extract data and how we structure data by our framework of research. Like semiotics or either 3D textures, how we build textures for reconstructing a specific site, or in ancient time how it was looking a house or a port. This is
I think
fascinating.
platforms for exchange.
Platforms for
Definitely,
exchange.
definitely. Yeah?
Yes,
Because
yes.
others make other experiences and work in other fields, but connected to. And this is really, really great here.
Okay.
Also in this meeting, that you felt this roundtable yesterday. People from different institutions have other questions, have other topics, create in another way. It's so good to know.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. So thanks a lot for
Thank you.
your time and the interview. And so we are very much looking forward to see how this new future is developing. And so yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.